Hello, my name is Woody. This is Change in the House of Pods, a podcast about Deftones. My guest today is Sly Masmeijer. I think I've known about Sly almost as long as I've known about Deftones. Sly is responsible for one of my all-time favorite Deftones t-shirts, the white around the fur shirt with a drawing of each of the guys in those classic poses across the chest, and then it's got this thin red border, says Deftones in cursive, so sick. If you're not sure which one it is, I've got it on my Instagram, and you can see it on Sly's website too, slyartwork.com. He's done a ton of really cool artwork for different bands, and more recently for the Headup project. Not long ago, they released a live poetry reading from Chi Chang. The album has this beautiful portrait of Chi on the front, and it says, "A night of poetry, belly dancing, music, insults, alcohol, and other forms of flattery." And it's exactly that. I bought the CD, and it's wonderful. Inside, there are messages from Chi's family and Buckle Up for Chi, and a few pictures of Chi from that night in 2001. Jonah Matranga from Far sang a few songs that night. He's pictured there with Chi, too. Sly did all the design here. It's a really special recording. And I talked about that night a little bit with Jonah. I'm saving that episode for the end of the season, though. It's pretty fucking amazing. Now, if you're an old head like me, you might remember Dutch Deftones, one of the handful of Deftones websites from back in the day. That was Sly's. He also has this amazing collection. He's got every Deftones release, like every version of every album. Cassette, CD, vinyl, 10-inch, 7-inch, promos, the demos, and the demos. Crazy, man. If you missed it, Sly helped me kick off Season 2 on Instagram Live. He showed me a few of his favorite cassettes and kicked it for a while. I'm wearing his shirt in that video, by the way. It was a lot of fun. Actually, I was a little bit tipsy. I'm not going to lie. I've been kicking it on these Instagram Lives. But I should clarify, this is the only time I get away from my kids. They are 4 and 1, and it is insane. So, never mind me. I'm just blowing off some steam so I can go to a rock show again. And speaking of rock shows, Sly has the single coolest life experience I can imagine. He sang Head Up on stage with Deftones. Yeah, that's Sly. Goosebumps. I got goosebumps, man. I mean, holy shit. I had no idea either until we spoke here, and we're going to talk about all of it. This is my conversation with Sly Masmeijer.
Oh, well, yeah. I think it was late 95, early 96 when my brother bought Adrenaline at a record store. When he saw it there with a hype sticker saying, "For fans of Helmet." And also because of the sleeve looked kind of, raw. It had the silver logo on it, and he just bought it because of the sticker. He brought it home. He played it for me, and we were like, wow, what's this? I mean, it was not metal. It sounded kind of alternative and stuff. And we really liked it. And everything, we look at the booklet, everything was kind of different. Although now, when I look back at it, Adrenaline is the band's least favorite record, I guess. I mean, I've heard Chino saying that, and they don't care too much about the first record anymore. But at that time, it was the only thing out there. And we were like, wow, there was a little sort of mystique about it. I don't know what it was, and we were a fan right away. So we tracked down, anything we could find on the band. And there was basically nothing because there was no internet yet. I mean, kind of starting in 95, 96. So no YouTube, no nothing, just I remember some magazines starting to put in articles, small articles about the band. So, and we were like, hey, that's Deftones that we're talking about. And it was only just before actually maybe 1-2 years later when just before Around the Fur came out, when magazines started to write more about them. So, and then we were like, wow, we wanted to follow them better and more. After that, they announced their first European tour because I'm from the Netherlands and Holland, if you will, and they were coming over. So yeah, we bought a ticket right away, and that's how it all started rolling. I mean, it took quite some while for us to get to know more about the band because they're yeah, there was not too much attention at that moment. I mean, not here in Europe, so I don't know about America, but that's how it went down actually. Yeah.
Were the magazines that you found at that time European magazines?
Yeah, yeah, it were actually the mostly Metal Hammer from the UK and Kerrang magazine. I don't even believe our Dutch magazines had anything about them. Only just a review maybe from Adrenaline. That was it. And so, yeah, we there might be some American magazines too, but just small brief interviews and stuff because after Around the Fur, then they kind of blew up here, and that's also the moment where they started touring because they never came here for Adrenaline in Europe. So
Yeah, they were busy beating the hell out of the United States at that time,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
How old were you at that time?
Around, I think around 20, 21. Yeah. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you had what were you listening to? Were you a fan of Helmet, or what else were you into
Oh yeah.
when you got into
Mhm.
Deftones?
At that time, I was listening to a lot of punk rock. I was into the Pennywise and bands like that, skate punk bands, at that time, and also some hardcore bands, but also a lot of indie bands, alternative guitar bands, and stuff like that. Yeah, that was my main thing. So they were kind of a little bit of everything from those kind of bands. I mean, when I heard them, and also I looked in the booklet, and it was recorded in Seattle, and I was kind of a fan of the Seattle bands. So I was like, oh, maybe I have a connection with Seattle, but it was just a studio where they recorded in, nothing more actually. But I think Terry Date was maybe based in Seattle. I'm not sure. So yeah, they surprised me with the sound, but it all changed even more after I first saw them live. I mean, that was a game changer for real. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask you about that in a second. At 20 years old, were you had to have already been drawing, right?
What was that? Sorry.
You were already drawing and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
creating illustrations.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about your artwork, because that's pretty vital to, I think, a lot of people's understanding of you as
Yeah.
and your connection to Deftones and everything. So how did you get started as an artist?
Well, from a very young age, I was always drawing, always, like always, everything. I drew everything, always busy doing that. When I was bored, I just started to draw, and I did that. So when I got a little bit older and I was really always into music, I started to combine those two things. So I drew t-shirt designs for local bands and stuff, for friends' bands, and I really had interest in trying to get my art onto maybe some bigger bands. So I started drawing just illustrations of bands, took them with me to shows, and just tried to, show them to the band, and maybe they liked it. So a few bands were into that, and they actually used my artwork on their shirts and stuff. And also, of course, I was really keen on trying to get the Deftones onto my artwork, which was pretty hard because there were some different kind of band for, when it comes to that stuff. They were more like it was more serious or something. I don't know. It's hard to find a way how to explain. But when I became a fan, I of course drew them because that's what you do when you're a fan of a band, and you want to have that thing going on. So at some point, I was able to give some drawings to them after a show, and they were used on a shirt later on. Yes. So I was really, really surprised when they actually did that. So yeah.
You mean this one, right?
All right, man. I didn't even see it. You had it on. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Really
rocking
good.
it,
Yeah.
buddy. I'm
Yeah.
rocking it today.
Right on. Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah.
This shirt, you gave them each of these
Yeah.
individual,
Separate drawings. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then what happened? Like then you all of a sudden you discovered the shirt one day, or how did it happen?
Yeah. It was actually just after a show. I just, took my chance and took them with me. And by accident, I got to meet them after the show through a friend who said, my friend has drawings. Can he come back? Yeah. And they were like, sure, bring him on. So that's when I got backstage after the show, and I showed them the drawings, and they really liked the how do you say that in English? The poster, maybe, how they're like had their really specific things for each
Yeah, their
member.
poses.
Like
Yeah,
poses,
the
yeah.
poses that they're in
Hands
are very
free.
classic.
I tried to find one specific thing for every member, and didn't even know too much about them. It was just taken from pictures. I had barely seen any video at that time. So yeah, and they liked it. And after a year, I gave it to them. I accidentally discovered a T-shirt at a T-shirt store in Amsterdam. I was like, wow, what is this? How is this possible? I mean, here, and it was in Amsterdam. I mean, I didn't understand. So I tried to figure out, and I found online on their official store, they were selling it. So it was like an official shirt. So I was like, wow, that's cool.
That had to blow your mind, right?
Yeah. That I didn't even know. I mean, I just gave them the drawing, said, do whatever you want to do with it. So it was like, I didn't care for that they used it. Actually, I was really honored. So yeah.
Do you have any regrets about that now? Do you wish that you'd asked for a little bit of scratch?
No. Maybe after a year after that, I asked Stefan about it when I met him in Amsterdam too. Like, hey man, you guys use my drawings? Oh yeah, and he said, yeah, we tried to track you down, but I was like, all right, it's cool, man, it's cool. No regrets at all.
That's so wild.
I was young, and I was really stoked. So.
Yeah. Well, and I want to ask some more about your art too, because to look at your website, you've done a ton of stuff for bands. I've seen like all of this. Did you do the snot with the dog and the tennis ball?
No. That's the original artwork of their one and only album they had. But we took spin-offs from that and used them because I've been friends with their bass player for years. I mean, when he played in Amen, there was a band he was in after Snot. I met him for the first time, and I became friends. And he was into really into merchandise. I mean, he had his own merchandise company, and he was also doing the official Snot merchandise. After the band was, of course, didn't exist anymore because of Len passing away.
Right.
But we kept in touch, and he asked me to do all kinds of artwork, and we took it from there, and it just kept on going years after that. Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, because they also had they had a reunion kind of thing going on, like maybe when was that, 2000, a few years ago. Yeah. And yeah, they needed merchandise, and I was the guy they went to for everything, so it was pretty cool. Yeah,
that's really cool.
Always been a fan of them. Yeah.
And a lot of work for Head PE too, I noticed on your website.
Yeah. Also, yeah. There was a band who really did like the character drawings I did. It was a good band for that kind of artwork. So their drummer BC at the time was a really cool guy who was arranging all the merchandise, and he was he took that drawing and was like, oh man, that's really cool. We should keep in touch, and you should do everything from now on. So, and I did. So it was pretty cool. Yeah. And actually, thinking of Snot, how I discovered Snot, I think I discovered them through liner notes in CD booklets, and it might even be a Deftones booklet where they thank Snot, at the thank list. Yeah, I always try to read the liner notes and see which bands were thanked I didn't know, and try to find them and discover if they were good or not. And Snot was one of them, and I really dig them. It could be Deftones, maybe another band, but at the same time, yeah, that's when I discovered Snot. Yeah.
That time in music was really exciting. A lot of bands. I mean, there were so many bands that emerged, and the new metal scene certainly carried a lot of bands to a huge mainstream audience, but not a lot of them remain, which is why it's really interesting to talk about our favorite band. I think it's so interesting after all of these years. So you found Adrenaline, right? It was Adrenaline that your brother picked up. It wasn't like a sampler or anything. So between Adrenaline and Around the Fur, they did make it out to the Netherlands, or was it after Around the Fur?
Yeah, they tried to come over to Europe earlier because we have this big festival here. It was Dynamo Festival. Maybe you heard of it.
Yeah.
Metal festival, pretty famous. Yeah. At the time, it was the thing back then. But I understood later on that promotion in America was more important for Adrenaline than to go over to Europe yet. So that's when they bucked out for that. And they actually came just before Around the Fur came out. So it was all recorded and stuff and ready to go. So it was early October, 97. And so I heard the first songs live from Around the Fur. Oh, did I say Adrenaline? I meant Around the Fur. Yeah, whatever. Sure. They before Around the Fur came out, and so I heard the first songs of that record before for her the album. So it was pretty
That's cool as
cool.
shit.
That's cool, yeah, because you're a fan of a band and you heard new songs and you don't know anything about it yet. So it was pretty cool. Yeah.
So tell me about that experience. Tell me about, like,
Yeah.
I'm sure it launched a lot of things, you know, it
Yeah.
propelled,
Like,
catapulted.
I think maybe everything, it lost probably everything. No, really, because I went down there in Amsterdam. They played in the Melkweg in Amsterdam, one of my favorite venues, and they took Far with them, which were friends of them, also from Sacramento. You know them probably, yeah, sure you know. And I didn't know them either back then. Either I didn't know them. So they came on. I was so stoked for Deftones, but they already like blew me away with the, you know, it was emo, but it was heavy, and it was really cool.
And Jonah's voice.
Jonas' voice, yeah, and he was
Man.
like, he was so, yeah, he was so into it. But I was right, I was in the front. I mean, there were no barricades or anything. I was just in front of Sean, who was playing guitar. I really dug it. So I was like, wow, this is. So it was just the opening band, and then Deftones came on, and like I said, hadn't seen anything, any footage, anything like how they play live, how they work on stage. I hadn't seen anything. So it was just the feedback of Steph's guitar. And yeah, you probably know that famous root intro they did at every show back then, like the feedback. And then Chino started to scream like a, you know, like a squealing pig. And I was like, wow. And then Stefan started the riff of root. And then I think only a few minutes later, Chino was in the crowd already, you know, and we were like, wow. And Abe was bounding away on the drums. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah.
Had you ever seen anything like it before? I mean,
No, not like that. I mean, I've seen hardcore shows. I mean, I've seen Sick of It All at that time. You know, I don't know if you have seen them. They were really energetic and stuff. But this was different. I mean, this was more like they had a groove, and they had, you know, I loved everything about it. And Chi, of course. I mean, you know, he was with his dreads and stuff. He was banging like a crazy on stage, and yeah. So the whole show was like, wow. And the new song sounded so good there, and which really stuck to my head because I hadn't heard the song ever before ever was "Be Quiet and Drive." It had a drive in the song which kept in my head until I heard it on the album itself. Like, oh yeah, that's the song they played second to last on the show. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. So that was such an eye opener for me. Wow, this band it's really cool. So from then on, I started. I want to see every show they play here and hear everything they put out, and I did. So yeah.
Okay, so they dropped Around the Fur shortly after that.
Yeah.
And then had you been collecting at that time, or was that like when you said it sounded like when you decided like I got to get everything they put out? Like, is that where the collecting began, or is that a little bit further down the line?
Oh no, actually it began right away. That's kind of how I work though in my life. I mean, everything. If I'm really into something, I want to know everything about it, and you know, see it, try to find what's there about it. So. Of course, there was not much at that time. I mean, there was a first record. I didn't know about the samplers or the 7 inches or everything which was out there because it was also before eBay and stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a friend whose father had a record store, but a record store with collectibles and promos and stuff. And he was like, I can get you this Adrenaline 12-inch promo record for $10 if you like. You can order it and you can get it. Sure. So he did for $10. You know, it's crazy. And then I found out, oh, there's more of the band. So and also that's when I started to find out they had more songs than the songs on Adrenaline, which were Teething on the Crow soundtrack and Can't Even Breathe on the Escape from LA soundtrack. Those songs, really cool songs, by the way. I found out that, so I bought those records too, you know, and then they put out the Chauffeur about the Duran Duran cover on the tribute album. I bought that album just because of the song. Yeah.
God, when did that come out?
That came out not long after Around the Fur, actually.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I didn't know it existed. I just read about it and I tried to find the album. And I bought it. It was a really fun album anyways, because I like Duran Duran. So it had all kinds of crazy, mostly punk rock covers of Duran Duran songs. So it was pretty cool. But their songs stood out so so great. I mean, Shover is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen it live, out of curiosity?
Duran Duran?
The
Oh,
the
Shover. Yeah, I did actually one time.
Did you?
Yeah, I think, let me think. It was 2006 on
Yeah.
the Saturday Night With tour. Yeah. Um, am I right? Or yeah, I think I am. I can check it out though if you.
I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
you're right. I'm pretty sure it was because I
Could
know
be.
I've seen it once. It's funny, like when they bring that out, when they bring that song out, and it was only
Yeah,
like I guess a few times around that time. I know it's one of the songs that they've played like
yeah.
less than a couple or a few hundred times.
I think I'm wrong though. Yeah, because oh, there was I was
It
at
was
a
like oh
show.
03. Was that self-titled era?
Mm, it could be.
I love going down these little rabbit holes
Yeah,
of
yeah. I saw one show also in the Netherlands in Utrecht here, and there was a really cool set list, and I think they. Oh, I was confused with If I Only Tonight We Could Sleep. They played that one. I think you
Mm.
might be right if it was that it was around the self-titled era when they played that for a few times. Yeah.
How many times do you think you've seen them?
I don't know. I'm sure that I've seen. I looked it up for you. 29 times.
Wow, you know exactly. That's incredible. Well, I guess with
I looked it up.
did you?
Yeah, I was like, I should know before the show, before we are going to do this, how many times I've seen them. So yeah.
So, when was the next time that you got to see them? Like
Yeah.
after the first time?
Mhm. Not long after, because it was October 97. So in January 98, they did another Around the Fur tour. Early, yeah, January, February, and March, they toured Europe. And they played 2 days in a row here in Holland. And I went to see them. Yeah.
Did you go to both days?
Yeah, of course.
Fuck
Yeah.
yeah, dude. That's so cool.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, I love the vibe. Me and a bunch of friends went to the shows, and we hung out before the shows, and we bumped into the band in the streets of Amsterdam and Rotterdam too. And yeah, I had some stuff signed because at that time I let them sign my stuff, and I talked with them for a bit. And then that second date of those 2 dates, that was the day when I gave them my drawings I was talking about for the shirt you were wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when I met them. Yeah, after the show, and they were really
Wow.
cool. Yeah, they were really cool. All of them actually. Yeah, I was surprised. I found the entire band together backstage because I got to know years after that they all did their own thing. I mean, some of them, maybe Chi was gone most of the times, going to his bunk and to chill out.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he was there. He was there too. So, and he was one of the coolest guys. I had some rare stuff with me, Deftones related to maybe to get him signed and stuff. And he was like, "Wow, man, you got so many stuff." And Chino said actually when he saw the drawings, from now on you're going to be charged with all the artwork, which is of course shit. But no, but yeah, it was really cool for him saying that because I had my own. Oh, actually, I bought a self-made bootleg CD with a sleeve and all printed out of the Amsterdam show, which a friend of mine recorded.
Oh,
I just brought
wow.
it with me and showed him, look, I've got this album, and I called it Around the Max because the venue was called the Melkweg Max. And Gina was like, why is it called Max? What has Max to do with this? I said, no, the venue was called Max, so we call it Around the Max because you were playing in the Melkweg Max. All right, cool. And that's when he said it because I had a cover made of fishes and stuff, and he was like, wow, I really dig this. And you should be in charge of all the artwork, and the next album should be an owl. And in 2010 they had an
How
owl on the cover.
wild. It
Yeah,
really makes you wonder how long some of the seeds have been planted. I mean, especially now like with Black Stallion coming out and
yeah,
them admitting and confessing to having talked about it for 20 years. That's really cool to hear that they'd been thinking about putting an owl on the
yeah,
cover even as far back as this was 98, right?
yeah, 98, yeah.
Wow, what a
Yeah, and
trip.
after that, of course, Frank Mattis became the art man who was working at Warner for all the stuff they do, which I really love. So yeah, um, but it's kind of funny they said it back then already. Yeah, pretty cool.
I wonder because it's really interesting to think about, your story there and them saying like, yeah, you need to do this stuff for us or do more stuff for us.
Yeah,
And then, the machine is the machine and they've got the Big Brother company and all of the moving pieces and, you know, the entire team that's carrying their brand for them or pushing their brand. But to think that both you and Frank connected with them at
Yeah.
shows and were like giving them artwork,
Mhm.
that's really a fascinating
Yeah.
thought to me that they were crowdsourcing, I guess, you know,
Yeah.
even as far back as the earliest days.
I know for a fact that they are really, all of them actually are really into music and not so much everything around it. And that's, but at that time they were not really that big yet, so they were kind of surprised some fan came there with artwork about them. It was kind of new at that time. So I think that surprised them maybe, because later on, you know, they were. That's what I found out. They just cared about playing music and doing their thing and hanging out and, you know, having fun. That's the thing they cared for. But because I've met, like I said before, I've met other bands who were like really surprised to see some artwork. Oh, we're gonna do this and that with that, and they were like, oh, that we've got people for that. We have more interest in just music and playing and doing our thing. Yeah. So, which I really like about them too. Actually, you know, I mean, they're music fans. Yeah, and that's their thing.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. I think that's one of the coolest things about them,
Yeah.
even today, is that they continue to push different artists, push new artists, and do different things, collaborate with new artists or with different artists. And you know, you think about the Dia de los Deftones and how they put together those lineups, and to think that it was that those seeds, you know what I mean, even go back that far. I
Yeah.
mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. So, what did you were probably like what 22, 23 when you gave them the drawings? I guess in 98, you might have been, yeah, 23, 24, somewhere around there.
Yeah, 22, I think. Yeah, yeah.
So are you like an artist at that point? Is that what you were doing for a
Yeah,
living?
well,
Graphic
I had a job and I was doing an advertising company, just graphic design and stuff. But my hobby was always drawing, so I always combined it, and I just did it for fun back then. But I did it a lot. So aside from the graphic design thing, I just did my artwork thing with drawings and, like I said, mostly music related stuff. But my own company started only like yeah, I don't know, maybe around two 2005 or something, maybe. Yeah.
Sick. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
It was your brother at first. You had some buddies though who were also into Deftones with you.
No, not yet. No, he was the first, and nobody I knew. Well, I found out later on. I met some friends later on of people who became friends. I mean, who knew them also at the time. I had this one guy who was working in a record store, and he also said he knew that we're coming. Would come over to Europe in '96 and stuff, and he had his own self-made Deftones shirt to put on to the festival, but they never made it. That's what I remember. But aside from that, me and my brother and I have another friend. We were actually the only ones really always promoting Deftones to friends and stuff. Like, oh, you should play Deftones. You should check this out and stuff. You know, it's really, really great. Yeah.
What did your friends say when they came back to you after this?
Well, I have to admit, I mean, a lot of people. I had to convince them hard, you know, but in the end, even the people I didn't wouldn't imagine they would like it were, you know, they were turned on Deftones later on, because, you know, they tried it out, and I was so, you know, I was so pushing it. Like, I mean, you should really check this song out or this album, or yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they have this thing about it. You have to get into it, and then at some point you might understand it. You know, if you're not, you know, really known into this kind of music, but you know, yeah.
Yeah, you have to be ready, I think, especially at that time, you have to be ready for the heaviness. And the heaviness still, I think, can get in some people's way.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to take in.
Right. Yeah.
It's fun to hear you say though that you had to really push it on your friends, because I was never successful, like never successful at getting any of my
Not
friends to
always, no,
jump on board. So, are you responsible for Dutch Deftones, or when did? Because I remember in my earliest days of fandom, which was probably around 5 or so years after yours, like I remember the message boards, the Sharing Lungs message board. I think I at least remember Deftones World, and I remember like Dutch Deftones, and I remember being like, wow, it really is the World Wide Web.
Yeah, I don't know why we called it that because we were Dutch and you know we went to all those Dutch shows and stuff and I took pictures and I had information about it, so I wanted to share reviews and stuff like that. So me and my friend Matthijs, we decided to make a website called DutchDeftones.com alongside what you said, Deftones World, because I was in contact with that guy Nuno a lot too. We wanted to do something different than what he did. You know, he had all the information, like everything, and we wanted to have like a more artwork based website with every information you can find on which t-shirts were made, discography and stuff like that, and you know, try to find different ways to share Deftones stuff with fans. So that's when we did that. And yeah, the name, I don't know about the name, but at that time it seemed a good idea, you know.
Naming stuff is hard. Deftones World, great name. Sharing Lungs, awesome name.
Yeah.
Deftones Live makes so much sense and is perfect. Dutch Deftones. Dutch Deftones is better than Change in the House of Pods, if you ask. That name sucks.
I kind of like it. Yeah, yeah. No, it could have been better, but maybe no.
It could have been better. It could have been a lot better.
At that time, there were a lot of fan sites popping up from different countries too. Like you had a French site, and most of them had a link to their country and stuff. You still have those kind of sites. Deftones Argentina, Deftones Chile, all kinds of countries.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just figured, well, let's do this, and we were kind of popular actually.
Yeah, you were.
We were surprised by it, but you know, yeah.
It's so cool. And I remember the t-shirt thing because I remember I've always been such a t-shirt geek, you know what I mean? Like and Deftones always had, I mean, and I think you've sort of alluded to this already, their style and their just the image of the band, and then especially when they're performing, it's like another level. But taking on their image or like jacking their style, you know what I mean? That was Chino was always to me like one of my primary style icons. So like being able to like think about the shirts that they were wearing or like the jackets, the windbreaker jackets, have a place to see them.
Yeah.
Like that was so cool.
Yeah, that's what we did. Yeah. I think because from the first show I went to, I decided to buy every shirt I can get my hands on, you know.
Wow, really?
From then on, yeah. Which I did until White Pony. I think White Pony, maybe the second, maybe the back to school tour. Yeah. After that, I was like, oh man, it's going way out of hand. I mean, there are too many shirts. I can't afford it anymore, and it's too crazy.
So the man with 4,000 records.
Yeah. But at the first show, I bought everything they had, and all those shows, I bought everything they had, and which was quite a lot. And and I was figuring out, well, I should have on the website, we should have an overview of every shirt that is out there. I don't know why. I kind of always have this thing about having an archive and stuff, you know, having an overview of everything there is without anything missing. So also with my Deftones collection, you know,
what a great premonition though. Like what a really smart, I think, because now
I don't know why, but
I mean, it's really cool to go and look back at all of that stuff, you know, and to think back about like, which ones did I have? And sometimes I'll remember like a shirt that I had that I hadn't thought about in years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that.
What were your favorites back in those early days?
My favorite, which I still have, is the Metallica hoodie. They have this Deftones Ride the Lightning Metallica spin-off logo thing. Yeah.
Was it the Heather? Was it Heather Gray, like a light gray? Yeah, with like a blue.
Yeah. I never had that Dickies logo shirt though, because it was hard to get, and now it's vintage and stuff. Now it's going for crazy in bad condition and stuff. But I always wanted to have that, but I never had that. But yeah, that was the one I bought and only wore a few times, and so I still have it. Yeah, that's my favorite. And other than that, yeah, of course. I mean, with White Pony, they had such cool artwork for those shirts. I mean, not all of them, but a few of them have the, you know, the Frank Maddox kind of, you know, photo collage stuff with the fly and yeah, I really love those ones. I still have those too. Yeah.
Do you? That's really cool. I wish I hadn't worn them out like to the point where they were like holes in the armpits and that sort of thing. Like at some point you just have to you have to bite the bullet and let it go. But some of them make pretty good workout T-shirts for a couple of years after that. So, um, thinking about the artwork, I'm curious about your favorite Deftones art, and this doesn't necessarily have to be limited to the albums either, because I know that you are familiar with every
Yeah.
other.
Yeah,
Um,
I guess. Yeah. Well, actually, I'm because I do graphic design, and when it's your hobby and thing, you have this nerdy thing about it, about details in the artwork. So artwork is always really important for me, aside from the music. So, of course, when White Pony came out, that was the first time Frank Mattis was involved. I was really studying everything he did, from the typefaces, because it had a really clean front cover, but it had this really raw collage thing, with the teeth and stuff, and uh, yeah, mixed. I don't know what he used to make those collages, but I really dug that, and also really like all the versions which were out there. You had the uh, black cover CD and the red cover, and then the normal one, and then after that they had the reissue with the with the back to school on it, which was different too. And then you had the final version, which was different, it was all printed in silver. Those are kind of things I'm a really nerd about, and I was kept studying it. Oh, that's really cool how he did this and that, and yeah. So actually, all the things he did, I like. But White Pony was, of course, really different,
yeah.
from everything. I mean, from their peers in their genre too. They were like, really setting themselves apart, not only music wise, but artwork wise too. So I was like, wow, yeah, I love this.
Do you remember the anticipation and the build up for that album? Do you remember the hype surrounding it?
I do, yeah. Because I was talking about internet coming up, and some friends had computers at home, and their dads had computers, and you had to dial in to be online. I even remember I asked my my girlfriend at the time. Her dad can I use your dial-in for a little bit for just 10 minutes? And I just searched Deftones, and I found out. I think, and I think it was the Ozfest thing. I found Ozfest pictures, and they used the White Pony backdrop to to gain some curiosity for the new thing coming up. And they already decided to have the album called White Pony, and it only came out like maybe a year later, which was really wow. What is this? And then I found out they used on their website. They just used some intro with the pony and moving images and stuff, and yeah, they called themselves Worldwide too, Deftones Worldwide.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember that. It
I
was
do.
also,
Yeah.
I don't know,
I
Deftones
thought that was
Worldwide.
the coolest shit ever. I was like,
Yeah,
yeah, they're fucking
yeah,
worldwide.
yeah.
Yeah. Like that was
They had
really awesome.
Deftones.com, but they also had DeftonesWorldwide.com, and they had the pony image and stuff already, to build up some hype around the album. And then how it came out. I do remember I bought all the three CDs on the day it came out, on the 20th of June, I think. Oh no, the 18th of June, 2000. What came out 2 days earlier than in the US here, and yeah, I got all three versions of the CD, of course. Yeah,
Son of a bitch, you got it 3 days early. That's
yeah,
awesome. And those were all three of those versions were available on the
yeah. This
on the
store,
first.
yeah. When I was living not even in a big city, but I went to the record store, and they had all three versions there. Yeah, because it was just out, so you could. There were like more of them, and yeah, now they kind of rare, the colored ones. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
And,
They're
and
really
I
cool.
think I think maybe a few weeks later, I bought the vinyl White Pony at some skate record store. Yeah, yeah. I found out in some way that there was a vinyl version, so I got that too, which is pretty rare now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
I mean
you
the original. Yeah.
the original, right? Yeah, yeah. It's well, obviously they're
Mhm.
reprinting it or whatever. But do you remember hearing any of the White Pony music prior to the release, whether it was live or on the internet?
Yeah, yeah. Now you're talking about that. They built up to on their website to the release with all kinds of weird stuff. Also, that same kind of artwork they had, because that was the Napster era, of course, and there were rumors there were songs on Napster, and I was not into. I didn't know much about downloading MP3s yet, but a friend of mine was into that, and he said, "Well, I got something for you. Be at your mailbox for the next 2 days. I'm going to send you a CD." And I was like, "What is it?" So he sent me the download of the album, I think in a different order, and it started with, and weird enough, it started with "Back to School," which was always yeah. I still don't know to this day how that came about, because Chino always claimed they had to do that song after,
Yeah.
after the first run. I wanted to ask him someday though, because I still have that CD. "Back to School" was the first song on it.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was a little longer version. It had a longer intro, but it was "Back to School." So I had Pink Maggot and "Back to School" on that first drop before the album came out. I think a month before, maybe 2 months. Yeah. So
Wow.
it's kind of weird to me. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's
It
really
might, well, it might not be the first song on the on that burned CD, but it was.
right.
I think it might even be 50 Shearer. I'm not sure. Yeah,
W-
but it was on there, and I was like, okay. The band always claimed they had to, record it
Yeah.
before the reissue because they needed a new single. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
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 that timeline is interesting to think about. That whole timeline for that album is very interesting for me to think about, thinking about when they started introducing some of the music live, like when they started playing, snippets of Pink
yeah.
Maggot, and when they were writing, I'm thinking that some of that stuff had to be written or in exist in some shape as
Yeah.
early as like 98. Like I really think it was
98. Yeah, I think the House of Fur tour, late 98. They started to play snippets of Pink Maggot, right? Or maybe Korea, or was that later?
for sure Pink Maggot on that
Yeah,
tour. Yeah, with the
yeah,
one with Quicksand.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Snapcase. Yeah, yeah, and on Ozfest they play Korea, and then yeah, that's when I first heard. I think it was the entire album besides "Back to School." So, and then 2 months later, they did their tour in Amsterdam, in Europe, and I went to Amsterdam show. And Gino asked the crowd who has heard the record. And everybody was like, "Yeah." And I yelled, "Well, I'll buy it anyway. I'll buy the CD anyway." And he said, "Yeah, see, that's what I like about you guys." And I meant all the fans, because he knows, he knew his fans. Yeah.
that's cool as shit.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
that Ozfest? That was Ozfest that you're talking about, or was that a different like a?
No, 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 no. Yeah, no. This was the June 2000. It was,
Okay.
yeah, just also a little before White Pony would come out. They
Wow.
yeah. You remember this house party they did online?
Was that like the MySpace thing, or no? That wasn't the
Oh,
MySpace thing. They did a
no,
MySpace thing, but
this might have
no.
been
What was
later.
what did they do? They did a house party.
Yeah, that's they call it the Internet House Party, and it was like a short show at a small venue in California, I think. And it was just one of the first streams of a concert online.
That's right.
Remember that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't think
yeah.
I didn't see it. I didn't. I don't
Oh
know if
no, yeah. Oh, it's online. It's on Deftones Live too, so you can find it really easy. And right after that, they started their tour in Europe. And what the cool thing was, I hadn't heard. I mean, I hadn't seen the band live from '98 till then. I just remember the band was really stoked to play the new songs. They really wanted to play them, and you could really tell by the whole performance. Chino he was a little drunk though, but he was really on fire. And it was complete different than the Around the Fur tour. When I saw them, I mean, it had the White Pony songs, and Chino was like, yeah, he had this tie on, and you remember that the look he had on stage, and Steph had his haircut, and it was, yeah, it's different, but so cool too. I mean, and they played a killer set list then too. They played Damone, and they played Streetcar, and
Wow.
they had Glassjaw opening up for them. Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Wow. That's
Mhm.
cool as hell. What's your favorite era of Deftones?
Uh, oh, that's so hard. That's pretty hard. I've been asked that more times by fans too. What's your favorite era? It's so hard to. I mean, I have to admit, it's the early years. I have this, this connection, this emotional connection with the early years, of course, but because of the discovery of the band, But yeah, I think from that on, I really dig the really old shows. I mean, to find the moments I found out about footage of old shows and stuff where they were really, I mean, really energetic on stage. I really love that. But song wise, I think, yeah. Oh man, I can't really tell. I mean, self-titled era is great. I mean, there was the dark times, That's
Yeah.
called the dark times, and it had a really moody vibe, which I loved. Uh,
It's so interesting that they feel uh, that way. I mean, obviously they have good reasons to feel that way about the dark times, and the early 2000s weren't great for the band, but they were great for their music and I feel like their success and the attachment that we have to it. It's such an interesting it's such an interesting dynamic. It's interesting to think that you remember that era so fondly too, because I
yeah,
connect with that.
yeah, because I remember seeing the album cover from self-titled, and I didn't know what to expect song-wise. I mean, after White Pony, I mean, it's really hard to follow up White Pony. But I knew they were recording with Cherry Date, so yeah, I was really stoked. And the first thing I heard, I think, was Hexagram, that really short promo clip they did. That was the first song I heard, and I mean, the CD had this enhanced portion on it. I don't know
Mm.
if have you ever seen that? It's yeah, that's when you had back then. It was really hot to have an enhanced portion on your CD and put it in your computer, and you can watch footage and stuff in in the smallest quality possible. But they had really cool videos of every band member driving around and talking about the recording and stuff. But it had a total different vibe from the days before that. You could tell that
Yeah.
the stuff was going on. There were, I
I
don't know
remember
what it.
Abe in this truck or something like that, and being like, "This is dope" or whatever, and turning it up when the gal's talking.
Yeah, yeah.
The intro to, is it Girls Telephone Boys? Is that the
Mhm.
and what does she say? Something about it's so sensitive, or it's hella sensitive. I
Yeah,
remember him like
yeah.
that super amped me up when he was like, "Yeah, this is tight
Uh-huh.
right here," and I was like, "Yeah, it is." That was so
Yeah.
hot. That was
Mhm.
so hot.
So yeah, that era had something. I love it. But in the end, maybe, I mean, uh, I think we haven't discussed that part about Around the Fur. When I first heard Around the Fur, in comparison to the sound of Adrenaline, I mean, the sound of Around the Fur is my favorite from all the albums.
Really?
And the moment it came out, from, I mean, back then it was such a huge sound. I mean, the production and the songs, and also Chino's voice, his whispers and everything. I really dug that, and the drum sound, of course. I mean, H drums is, yeah.
It's hard not to fall in love with that album every time I go back to it. I like to play okay, so what is my favorite album game? And then I'll be like, well, it's this one. And then I'll Be Quiet and Drive to me is the greatest song of all time.
Oh
So,
yeah, man.
and I go back to it and I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
but this
yeah.
album is
But
special.
Digital Bath is better. Yeah, maybe. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It changes from time to time. Yeah,
All the
and
time.
that's the cool thing about it. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
at this point around the self-titled, there's at least one song that didn't make the album. Is it Lovers? Is that the song, or is it?
Yeah, they recorded more stuff, I think, because they did Lovers, which became a B-side of a CD single from it's a B-side from a Hexagram. But they also did that helmet cover,
That was at that
which was
time?
at that time because it's a B-side of Minerva, so it had to be done at that time. And they did this Sleepwalk. You know that song, instrumental
Yeah.
song. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, of all songs, they covered Johnny and Santos. I think it is.
I
Yeah,
remember doubting, like, is this? I mean, it sounded like, when you hear the wow, wow,
yeah,
you're like, wow, that does sound like Deftones, but is
yeah.
this Deftones? Like, I remember being very confused about that.
Mhm.
But they put that. Did they put that on the B sides?
No, they didn't do it. No, no, not that one. They did. They put the helmet song on there, and
Yeah.
yeah, but "Lovers" is a song which is I think it's a fan favorite. I see a lot of people wanted to hear a better version of that song and stuff because it didn't appear on the B sides. Yeah, I love that song too. I mean, it's great. Yeah.
It's a great
Uh,
song.
I really love the B sides back then because the B sides album was not out and all the extra songs. I tried to find every extra song they had. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to ask you about because I would imagine at that point in time your collection had to have been
Mhm,
pretty big.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
had you like you probably already had demo tapes, stuff like that? I mean, eBay was
Uh,
alive and kicking. You were probably
yeah, yeah,
able
yeah.
to
The
score a
demo
lot of
tapes.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, but the demo tapes came a little later, I think.
Demos were later.
Yeah, because I only found out about them a little later. There was not much known about their demo tapes. I mean, I've been searching for information like forever, and I had my ways to find out about stuff. So yeah, and still to date, I mean, there's not much known about their demo tapes. They're still kind of a mystery. But I think a few years after that, I found one on eBay, and it had a really bad description, like a Deftones cassette, rare, but not really what it was. So I got it for a really nice price too, and now they're going for like crazy. People are like killing for them. So I have a few of those tapes, which are, yeah, really, yeah, I'm
Do you
really happy.
listen?
No, I haven't listened to any of them. I don't want to put them in in a player. I don't want to take the risk because of
Yeah, that's
spoiling.
rolling the dice. I would imagine that's rolling the dice. You do that, then that tape. So that, oh
Uh,
wow, is that what you got right there?
yep. This
It's got
is
a phone number on it. That's
yeah.
so cool.
This actually has to be one of the earliest ones, and there's not much known about it because I've only seen this once, and it's this version. And then recently, my friend Vazanik, might know him from Deftones Live. He
Yeah.
got in touch with someone who worked for them like in the early days, and he has the same one. So I know it's legit too.
And what are the tracks on there on that tape?
Answers and Hopberg Hop. And I think Hopberg Hop has their own old drummer bassist Dominic Garcia on it.
Wow.
Yeah,
And the definite article,
yeah,
the Deftones.
yeah. And I have a few more tapes which have "the" on it. Actually, this is a cool one too. I don't know if you can see it. It's hard to see. This one is hard to tell. Let me see. You can see a little bit
Oh
there.
yeah, I see the
Yeah,
Yeah, I see
yeah,
the. Look
yeah,
at that.
yeah. Pretty.
Wow. Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't want to roll the dice on putting that in a deck and then
No, and
you're stuck with a pencil trying to wind it back up. But have you heard the music though?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard all the music because before these tapes, I got these tapes. There was a bootleg with a collection of all the demos which I had, and which later was more known as like Linus CD,
Yeah.
which was also kind of a mystery to fans to date. Still, I mean, people claim that's the first record and stuff, but it's not true.
Right.
Yeah, it was actually that album. I mean, it's just a bootleg album with a lot of these demos collected by a fan who put them out for fun, and that's it. Actually, I don't think the band has to do much. Yeah, people claim it has been. It's a really old CD, but it's not. I mean, it has the cat on it. You know that
Oh
the
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
yawning cat, yeah. And that image is only used like later on, and people claim it's from '93 or something, but it's just a bootleg CD. Pretty cool and pretty rare. I mean, it is rare. I mean, there are only a few made, I believe, but yeah, but it has those demo songs on it, so I've heard them all. So I'm not gonna play these. No.
What do you know about those early years? We know that they were beating it up at the Cattle Club in Sacramento, and then we don't really see
Yeah.
any live performances
Oh,
on that exist until like 95. Like I think that's
yeah.
probably the earliest on the internet, right? Is like 95.
No, there's some footage. I think there are 94 shows available. I don't think.
But that's still like 6 years after
Yeah,
the
yeah.
supposed formation,
I
right?
know, I know. There's only a really short clip of a 1990 show or 91 show. That's I think if you try to find it on YouTube, it has something like Deftones 1990 or clip. It's really short. I think it's only maybe 1 minute, and I think it has Dominic Garcia on it, and they're playing a Jimi Hendrix cover.
Wow.
And it's
That is
that film
bold
was
as hell for the band
yeah
that claims that they're not good musicians to play Jimi Hendrix is pretty funny.
yeah yeah. That's the only short clip, and I don't know if the band themselves tried to keep the footage. I mean, somewhere else. I mean, there has to be someone who filmed a family or friends who filmed the old show. I mean, that's what you
Right.
do, right? If you perform, yeah. So yeah, it's a mystery.
I mean, I have footage of myself performing in high school. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I mean,
everybody's got a VHS
yeah,
tape or something.
yeah.
It would blow my mind
Well,
if that didn't exist.
a few years back though, I got in contact with their other drummer they had, John Taylor. I talked to him for a bit, and I know he has some footage, and I'm not sure if he's gonna dig it up or convert it. But yeah, I talked to him for a while just because I had this demo tapes, and I wanted to know more about it if he was on it, and he's the one who's drumming on a few of those tapes. So I wanted confirmation about that. So that's how I tried to contact him. And I know he has something, but I don't know why people are not trying to put it out.
Oh man, the retrospective aspect of this band, it's just never existed. Like the fact that they decided to commemorate White Pony was a bit stunning to me.
Mhm.
But the way
Yeah,
that they did it also made a lot of sense because
yeah,
they didn't revisit the music. You know what I mean? That somebody else did, and that felt forward moving, which
yeah,
is more
yeah,
in line with what they do.
yeah. They didn't do anything with the anniversary of Adrenaline, or no, they did not. But White Pony was a special album, so yeah. And what they did is something, yeah, it's really Deftones style to have this kind of this kind of release. Yeah,
Yeah, it's very unique. So
yeah.
after Self-Titled comes out, did you get any opportunities to meet the band after that, or have connect with the band in any way over those
Yeah, one time
post
only.
2000 years?
Yeah, yeah, because the self-titled era, they did a summer festival tour, and I went to a show, two shows, and one in Germany and one in the UK. They played Download Festival, and I was just hanging out there, and I had some friends who were kind enough to let me their pass. They said, "You wanna hang around backstage for a bit? Take this pass, and you can walk around." Oh, sure. And I was just by myself hanging out, and I was like, "Well, let's see if Deftones are hanging out in the dressing room," and they were just doing nothing, just chilling. And I came by and said, "Hi guys," I said, "Hey man," and just hang out with them for like the evening. It
No
was really,
shit.
yeah, it was really cool. Especially Steph, I talked with him for like an hour or something about technical stuff, about cameras, and about weed smoking, about the world, about all kinds of stuff. Oh, about the world. I said, Steph, about the world.
That's
He had
classic.
different he had different thoughts back then, though. Yeah.
Well, he hadn't seen the whole world. He hadn't
Oh
seen it
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
hadn't seen enough of it at that point to prove that it was flat.
yeah,
Did you catch Abe on the Tama talk?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
it's not fucking flat.
I love Abe, man. He's my favorite. Abe's,
Ah,
yeah.
so good.
That's so cool. Yeah, yeah, and just and that's when I hung out with him, and after that, I kind of lost. I didn't meet him for like a few years. I did play with. I did sing with them on stage though for the self-titled album during Headup, which was unbelievable.
Please tell that story.
They during the I think it was September 2003. Yeah, they did this tour with a Perfect Circle through Europe, and I already read somewhere online they invited a fan on the song Head Up to sing the last part with Chino on stage. I knew that. I read a review, and they were doing it at every show, and I was like, oh, that's really cool, not thinking too much about it. And then suddenly when we came into the venue, I ran into their tour manager, and at that time I had a friend who always works for bands, and he knew that Steve Kidd is the guy, the tour manager of Deftones. And I just said to him, "Hey man, I've got a mutual friend." And I was, "Who is he?" Well, we exchanged the names, and he said, "Well, how big is your party?" And I was with 7 friends. So he said, "Well, here's 7 passes for the front area." They had some sort of an era inside of the stage where you can be in, like, and so you had Chino on one side and Chio on the other side, and we could be in that part. So we're really up close. And so I was like, wow, this is a really good spot. And we were not allowed to take pictures or anything, which was a shame. But during Headup, Chino said, and I knew that part was coming, but I was really into the whole show, so I was not thinking about it. But Chino said, "Who wants to sing this?" And my brother was like, and he was pointing at me. And then Chino said, "Come up then." And my friends, like a few, they threw me on stage before I could even do anything. I was lying on stage, said, "Come up here." And so I got Cheese Mike, and I was able to sing the last part with Chino. It was really cool.
Goosebumps. I got goosebumps,
And
Sly.
it was a big venue too. It was big, and it wasn't my favorite venue. I mean, it was a really off thing for bands to play at that time, and the sound wasn't really good, but still, I saw so many people, and I was like, wow. And it was in the part when where I had to sing "When You Walk Into This World," you know that part.
Yeah.
And I was looking at Abe and Chi and Chino, and I was like, oh, I think I should start that part. So I was looking at Abe because Abe had to start the drum. So I said, "When you walk into this, wow!" And then Abe, and he hit into the song, and then I was,
my God.
Chino, yeah. So my friends weren't allowed to take pictures at that era, at that spot in front, and it was before cell phones, of course. Smartphones. So there was no filming going on. So there's no footage, but I have the audio though.
You do?
Yeah, it's a bootleg recorded audio, not too good, but it's really cool to hear myself on that song. Like, wow.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was great, man. And after that, Chi hugged me. I said, "Thank you, man. Thank you." The way Chi was, and I was like, wow. I was like shaking and stuff. It was the best ever. Yeah.
Oh my God. Is that the greatest moment of your life?
Yeah, well, kind of. One of them.
It would be the greatest moment of my life.
It's just, yeah, it is, man. But it's in my whole Deftones history. It's just a part of my Deftones history. It's a whole thing. It's not really. I'm in this sort of a Deftones roller coaster thing, and which everything blends into it. Like I said, with the artwork, with the meetings, with my collection, and then singing with them, and then it just goes on and on. And it's so crazy and so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. When you have a love affair with a band who continues to put like over 9 albums is crazy. Like it's insane. It's insane. The quality of work and the fact that they're like relevant. The fact that they built this massive fan base over the years. Like all of those things are so. I don't know. It's surprising, but it also it makes sense. And
yeah, and it's so special. They keep maintaining. I mean, they still are relevant. I mean, to me, if I heard a new album, it's not even like Gore. For people, it's not their most favorite album. But if you listen to it, it's not a bad album. I mean, it has this thing Deftones have with every album. They have it. It has this Deftones sauce on it. Like, oh yeah, that's Deftones, and they do something good. Yeah.
I love Gore. I'll defend Gore till my dying day.
Yeah.
I love that album. I do. Well, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about Chi at least a little bit, because you did get that opportunity to sing with them and to sing on his mic. And at the time of his accident, do you remember being as concerned about the end of the band as I was? Because I thought it was going to be over.
Yes, I for sure, because I actually was on a vacation at the time he got the accident, so I was just going online at some hotel or wherever it was to check my email, and then I found out a message he had an accident, and I was like, what? And how is this? I was so confused, like, oh man, what's going to happen now, and how is he going to recover even? I mean, it was such an unshort time, and like it took like 5 years, man, before the answer came out with what was happening with him. And of course, I was more concerned about his health than the band continuing. But we all know what happened that day. They felt she would want if we would continue, she would have wanted that, so let's find someone to fill in. So that was all right, and that just happened, and in a natural way. And I love that they got Sergio to do that. So, but still, they started, of course, playing again like a year after or something. I think it's a year after his accident, maybe not even a year after his accident with Sergio, and it was all good. I was like, oh yeah, I'm happy they're doing this, but still, I was like, what's going to happen to Chi, man? What's going to happen to him? So yeah, we all know what happened, and which was really sad. But yeah.
Yeah, it was a heavy time. It was heavy coming out of I think it was heavy coming out of the self-titled Saturday Night Wrist. We all, as fans at that time,
Mhm.
knew how fractured they were and how all over the place. Every time the press covered them, it was in, I don't know, sort of a snotty way. I feel like none of the press was entirely like favorable. Whether or not they created that or not is anybody's. Well, I'm sure somebody knows, but it never seemed. Nothing ever felt like good. You know what I mean? Like there was no
Yeah,
certainty. It
yeah.
was really high anxiety times, and of course, wondering what was going to go on with Chi and if he'd recover. But I wonder your thoughts about the music, the Eros album.
Mhm.
Uh,
Oh yeah.
what's your take on the music that was being created at that time?
I was really following them back then, also, of course, with that they had those studio updates when we were recording Eros.
Yeah,
And I think that I believe they didn't have a title Eros yet at that moment, but you had those little updates. And yeah, I for me it felt like a good way to to proceed after Saturday Night Wrist. I mean, it had a better feel to it. Like, I mean, the members themselves seem to be getting along better, because they were
yeah,
really, even at the point of breaking up, during Saturday Night Wrist or after that or before that. Yeah. So yeah, I was really anxious to hear anything about it. I mean, and then suddenly this happened with She. So yeah, but still, I've kind of settled with the idea that we will never hear anything from it apart from which is the song Smile, and that snippet there is from the studio. But uh, and I'm okay with that. People
yeah.
keep asking about Eros, and I don't believe it's even uh, I don't think they're happy with how it is now. So they would have to go through it and work on the songs to put it out. And I don't think they would want to. I don't think they want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. I mean, I love Deftones how they are now, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
okay.
interesting to think about and to consider, and I think your take is the right one. And it's
Yeah,
you know the band as well as anybody else. After all of these years, I think your instincts are on point. It and it's hard to complain, right? Like because they
mhm,
keep
yeah,
dropping they keep dropping amazing albums. So it's like, well, I
yeah,
mean, we
yeah.
could pine for the stuff that maybe never will see the light of day, but it's really fun to enjoy the new stuff. Like the new
Yeah,
stuff is so.
that's what I mean. That's how it is, and I'm pretty cool with that. I mean, especially their latest album. I mean, it's great what they do. Yeah.
What about these of those albums since Diamond Eyes? Have any of them connected with you on the level of like White Pony or their previous albums, I should say?
Not well. That's really different. I mean, I still see the band in two versions. I mean, the Chi Deftones and the Sergio Deftones, and it's not. There's no specific reason. I mean, I still love the band, but it had, I experienced that whole era with for quite a few years with Chi and that kind of Deftones and the new Deftones. I mean, I do remember when I first heard Diamond Eyes, and I was really happy to hear what I heard. I mean, I loved it. It had a great vibe. They were on fire. They had great songs. It sounded,
Felt like they
Sergio.
were having fun, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that was really important. They were having fun, and the first tour I saw of that was great. I mean, Sergio was really perfect fit, and now he still is. You can tell, and it's great that they were able to continue with him. And I'm really happy with how the band is now. So, but for me, yeah, no, it's not. There's no specific reason. It's just a feeling that for me there are just two versions, which is okay for me. I mean, I love the whole Deftones, and I love the two versions of Deftones. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That's the great part about a catalog band, right? Is they
yeah,
have this entire catalog, and
yeah,
I think that your assessment though is fair, not just for the lineup change, but the energy change,
yeah,
songwriting changed. I feel like, or shifted maybe in a certain way. I think there's some truth to what you're talking about as far as two Deftones, two versions of the band.
yeah.
Um, so having seen them live, because are you a contributor? What is your role in Deftones live?
Yeah. Well, my role is not super big, but I've known the founder of Deftones Live for quite a few years. Maybe I think maybe 10 years, maybe some more. Vazinik, and well, he and I have been in contact always about Deftones live footage and stuff, and of course, at a certain point, he had the channel for a long time, but at a certain point, he changed the name into Deftones Live, and it started blowing up because he was really consistent in uploading great videos with great edited footage and songs, and it was he took all the best parts of shows and edited really well, and in a really nice archived way, and people started to see that, and so he started to get a lot of subscribers, but he needed visuals for promotion and stuff, and I was always into that. So yeah, I volunteered and said, if you need any visuals for
Sick. That's cool.
logos, promotion, anything, I can help you with that. So, and I help him out with information, I and yeah, all kinds of stuff. And so yeah, that's my part for Deftones Live, and yeah, I love being a part of it, and I love being a part of in the whole Deftones community. I mean, I am also connected to Buckle Up for Chi.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, I have. As a matter of
okay.
fact, I was just listening to this guy last night.
Yeah, yeah.
Just last night I
Well,
was listening. And this is your cover too. This Chi Ching poetry. That's your album art.
yeah, yeah,
Is this photo on the back? Is this a bill from the
yeah.
event, from the reading that night?
Yeah, I switched the colors though, but it's the original. I think it's a pamphlet flyer they used back then, and there's really not much information about it. And I tried to track down a guy who was there, and he provided the photos, and I think he also had that image, and yeah, so we put together this artwork thing, and I love doing that. I mean, it's a great cause. They support seatbelt awareness, and especially, of course, after Chi's accident, it got some attention in the Deftones community, and they've been trying to get the message out there through this kind of things, like putting out CDs or merchandise, or
Yeah, I've seen they've
so
done
yeah,
a number of raffles and those sorts of
yeah,
things.
yeah.
But getting this poetry CD, that's
It's great, right?
hearing his voice and
Oh,
experiencing the atmosphere of the night. You know what I mean? I wish the belly dancing could have been on the CD. I would have loved to hear just the sounds of the belly dancing. That would have been cool.
I love his way of poetry and telling it. I mean, he's got some, I love how he's so, coming back to certain things which come back all the time, like he's a pervert and stuff like that, and making jokes.
Very self-deprecating. Yeah.
And yeah, because of course I know the bamboo parachute thing, but this thing is different, and it's alive in a live setting too. So yeah, we were glad with the help of Chi's family to dig up the recording and to put together this. So, and we're expecting a vinyl version later on this year, which I'm really really stoked about. So I'm actually completing artwork for that right now.
Oh, you are? That's really cool.
hmm Yeah.
The Chi's legacy is I feel like it's felt whenever Deftones fans, whenever we get together, whether it's online or if we're at a show, you almost always at a show see a Buckle Up for Chi
Oh,
t-shirt, and I'm sure that's your art too on those with
some of them, yeah, yeah, yeah,
building.
yeah. Some of them are indeed, and I love that through this way, we keep, seeing Chi everywhere, and yeah, he will be here forever, and that's great.
It's fun to see some of those old videos. Actually, that's something else that I wanted to ask you about, because it was we were messaging a little bit before about I think it was Pink Pop in 98, 98 or 99, maybe, when he's wearing like the light, Chino's wearing like the light blue jacket, and you
Yeah,
were like, oh, I was like right in front of that.
yeah,
Um, I think it was that Pink Pop where they had this video of
yeah,
the band where like Chino's cutting the grass, and
mhm.
they're talking to the dudes, and that footage, it's so weird. It's I don't I don't even know.
Yeah, yeah. Because I went to the Pink Pop festival there, and I knew they were broadcasting always live on national television here in Holland.
Oh,
So
word.
I asked my roommate, could you please tape the whole thing around Deftones, or the entire festival for me, so I can check back what I've missed, and see where I've been. So I was at the show and enjoying myself, and it was a really great show. And then I came back, and then he said, "Well, there was some special around them before they showed the live footage." And that was indeed, I think they filmed it while being on tour in Cleveland, and you see the Deftones and their crew uh, with their bus parked at some house of their road manager, and they're who are hanging out at Chio's mowing the lawn, and and Stefan was riding his bike, and they were
It's
reading
so
magazines, and
weird.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
such a weird thing. And when I saw that that was before Pink Pop, I was like, oh, maybe what like can give some context
Mm,
to that. So they
mm.
broadcast the whole concert on television,
Just a few songs. They
or just
always
a
did a
few
few
songs.
songs for every artist. Yeah, just a few songs, and
Ah,
this was really, they did this for every artist. They actually went down there to, I mean, the Dutch people from the TV show, and they just went down there to film this special with interviews and stuff. And what I loved about it was that acoustic part of Be Quiet and Drive they were playing just in the driveway. It's great. Yeah,
how crazy is
yeah,
that? The
yeah.
band that like won't do any acoustic, right?
Like any session at all. I mean, especially at that time, they were doing nothing like that. I
It's
mean, they were
so
doing nothing
singular.
like, yeah, like special TV things, or so it was pretty cool. And I loved it though. I mean, it was just yeah. And they said it was Stefan's house or something, but I think it was just a house. It was in Cleveland, Ohio. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what they said. It was in Cleveland. I was like, well, Steph
Yeah,
doesn't live in Cleveland.
we just stayed there for a bit or something. Yeah, yeah.
So, because you've followed the band for so long, I've thought about a couple of questions that I'm
Sure.
curious just to get your expert opinion on.
Okay.
Um, and I'll start with your favorite shows to watch online. Like,
Hmm.
what are the best Deftones? If because I'm it's part of the reason why I started this podcast, because I got so geeked on watching them live. You know as well as I do how amazing they are live. So to soak them up on YouTube, whether
Yeah,
it be the Deftones live videos, or because there's so
yeah.
many out there.
Yeah, there's so many, and it's hard to, of course, pick some. But what I
Right.
really like is because in the Deftones World days, DeftonsWorld.com days, there was a video trading community, and it was before DVDs even. It was, VHS tapes, and I bought some tapes back then. And one of the shows on there was a San Jose show from '96, early '96, and I really loved that one. And recently there was a pro cam version of one of the songs which dropped online. I think it's on Deftones Live too. And the first song is a professional recording. And when you can see a camera from the back of the stage, I mean high up above Ape, one of the back of the venue, and one on the left side of the stage or something, really up close, really small venue. It was the Cactus Club in San Jose. So that's one of my favorites because you can really feel the energy, and it's really up close and really, yeah, really tight. And other ones, let me see. Oh, there's so many. It's so hard. Of course, I love the audio of the Walt Rock show. There's no video footage, but the Walt Rock recording is pretty good. I mean, it's a soundboard show. Of course, the show, right? The show where everything went
Yeah,
wrong. Yeah,
yeah. Do you want
yeah.
to tell the story? Just
I've told it a lot of times, and you should check out it. Just check it out on Deftones Live, and just find Deftones Walt Rock. And
what a wild.
Stefan said, just type in Google Deftones worst show ever, and you'll find it. And we've made it. It's actually a video I made because I was at the show, so I experienced it all really well because I was a fan. I was really, the show was recorded on a soundboard, so it has really good audio, so you can hear everything Chino says while being pretty drunk. And so it's, at the time I was really pissed about that because, it was a bad show, but at this moment, it's one of my favorites.
What a treat.
Wow. It's a one of a kind show, so it's,
yeah.
There's no video though, but it's a cool audio show. And other than that,
what about your favorite demos or rarities? So you have just talking about your collection, how many pieces are in it? Do you know? No idea.
Hundreds.
Every format of every release that's ever come out with.
Yeah, that's my collection. I don't collect like band posters or anything like that. I just like the promotional Deftones stuff. I mean, if there's a poster for an album, I like it, but I don't have like band posters or anything. But I just collect music carriers like tapes and CDs.
How often does the music change or vary? Are there any like variants on those? And like, what are the ones that maybe people should pay attention to?
There are a lot of they're not being made anymore, of course, because of the digital era we are in now, in the streaming era. But like at the CD times, there were like always promo CDs or radio promos, and I have a few promos which just have different versions of I have a promo of Change in the House of Flies with maybe 7 different versions on it. Like one of them where the guitar's sound is up more. One of them where it's just a vocal. I don't know where it's used for, but it's from some sort of promotional thing. They might have used it for on the radio or to use for whatever reason. And they're pretty rare, and it's pretty cool. Yeah,
it's a vocal only version.
Yeah, I think they have or there's just a different mix where the bridge is being cut out, or the intro is shorter, stuff like that. That's just a really rare one, and because apart from that, there are a lot of CDs with the same songs, and I just wanted to have all versions.
That's such a trip, man. What a
I have of course, I see my collection here. For instance, I see my self-titled cassettes, which is just a pile of this, like this high, with just different versions of the self-titled album on cassette. Like a Thai version, a Korean version, with different.
And the only difference is the language on the print
of the album. Language, stuff like that. Yeah. Wow. It's like what I said. I wanted to have it all, and and the cool thing is I just collected it through the years, so it's not like I need to have it all now. No, I just collected it through time in periods, just easy, and it built up to this whole collection. And although now, now it's it's not as as active anymore because there's not coming out that much.
Well, they probably took a couple of bucks from you this past year.
Yeah, they did, but those are just the normal releases, which are okay. But back then they had like CD singles, and they had 2 versions, and they had promos, and they had cassettes, and they had DVDs and stuff like that. So yeah, that's not being made anymore. So yeah,
I'm always curious, about what those little changes might be. Like hearing the changes on the White Pony reissue was just really exciting. I think it's at the end of Pink Maggot. Maybe there's the guy's voice or whatever, and like those little subtle differences they're really fascinating. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah,
really
if you're really into that, you should check out. There's this from a few years back, this Deftones album collection. I think it's on Spotify.
right.
Uh, and they dropped that. I'm not sure if it's on Spotify or Apple Music, but they have a few songs on Around the Fur too, which are a little different mix than the original ones. I think Lotion. Yeah, there's some differences, and it's really there's only one topic on Sharon Lungs, which where it was discussed which songs and which moments. But it's really cool to find out where the differences are. I think Headup is
Yeah.
different. The outro of Headup is different.
Really?
Stuff like that. Not a lot of people know that. Yeah.
That's cool as shit. I love that sort of thing. Like, cause
Yeah.
that's the creative
Mhm.
process, right? Like that's the music. That's the stuff that
Have you ever discovered the differences between we were talking about the helmet cover, for instance, Sinatra, and the B-sides version? I mean, the B side on which one is it? I think it's on Minerva. Yeah, I think it's a B-side of
for
one
those
of
two.
the songs on the self-title, and it is on the B-sides record. But those are different mixes. If you play them right
They
next to each
are.
other, you hear the difference. And it's the same goes for the Smiths cover. They recorded with one with Terry Date, of course, for Adrenaline B-side, which is on the 7 words 7-inch. But the B-sides version is a different mix. Terry Date remixed it, and you hear some differences. You check
That's
it out.
interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to listen to that for sure. I think I probably noticed that at least once because it
Yeah.
sounds familiar. But yeah, I'm gonna go check that out. You know what's another funny thing about that B sides? Just to get your take on it, the acoustic version of "Be Quiet and Drive" on
Mhm.
the B sides. Is that the Adam Sandler version with Brandon Boyd cut out, like muted out? Because it sounds like the
Yeah.
same recording of that TV version of the song. Do you think that's a difference, like a studio recording or something?
Well, actually, that one was a B-side for the Be Quiet and Drive CD single, the
Oh, it
European CD
was.
single, and they just put it on the B-sides record. But so that was recorded around, I think, '98 maybe then. And what I've what I understand is that guitar intro thing, or the guitar thing which is going on in the song, is of course different than the heavy version. Was written or done by Jonah from Far. He came up with this ding ding ding, that thing.
Yeah.
And DJ Crook, was a friend of the band, and Team Sleep too. He did the beats, and I think it was recorded at his
Really?
space or Jonah something. Yeah, I've talked to Jonah about it for a bit, and he actually wrote that guitar thing, and he's not credited for it, but he did that, and it's kind of familiar to the Adam Sandler version,
It
but,
is.
but yeah, I think that's just the way they perform it when doing it acoustically or something. Yeah,
All 4 times that they've done it
yeah, I
acoustically.
know.
That's why it stood out to me. That's why I was like, God, that guitar part is the same. And it's so rare that they do
Yeah,
any acoustic stuff that I was like, I think they just couldn't get Brandon's vocals like licensed or whatever. So they just pulled him out. That was my suspicion. But what
yeah,
you're saying also makes sense. Because I think I remember reading that Jonah did some background vocals or some backup vocals for an acoustic version of Change. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's the one is on the B side,
yeah. Maybe for change, you mean? I'm not sure.
or not Change. Excuse me. Be Quiet and Drive. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, 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 yeah. Maybe he did. Yeah, he did because he was in for sure. He was involved in for that version. Yeah,
I feel like I remember him performing that as
yeah,
well.
yeah. He performs it in the same way. He performs it a lot when he's doing his own shows. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
he's
think
performing it a lot. Yeah,
maybe I think I saw him opening as one line drawing when he opened
yeah,
for them. That was cool.
yeah,
What a killer voice that guy has, man.
yeah.
Oof.
He is. Yeah, I love his performances. Yeah.
Um, are there any questions about the band? Any like mysteries that you want
Mhm.
answered?
Oh yeah, but the same thing we were talking about now, those nerdy song stuff, like for instance, like I said, the back to school thing, I would like to know. it seemed to be recorded right with all the other songs. I mean,
Right.
but they claim it was recorded, after that kind of stuff. And I wanted to know more about around the first sessions, because it seemed that they recorded the chauffeur and To Heaven to Hold, the Depeche Mode cover,
Mhm.
and that other Swedish Perfection. And I wanted to know how that came about and why Swedish Perfection is never released and stuff like that. All those nerd stuff. That's what I would like to ask the guys. If I'm able to. Yeah. But the times I meet them are not the good times to ask that. I mean, it's always after a show. They're chilling and just having fun.
Yeah.
It's not the great moment to talk about songs and stuff.
Yeah. Hey guys, remember in 1997? Yeah.
And I'm dancing to this.
I know.
They're dancing.
Damn it, I would love to know. I would love to know. That sort of stuff is awesome, especially because they're holding on to a lot of the different demos and the music. Like they've got it. Chino played a demo of Xenon on MixLR or Mixler. And I caught it, and I was like juggling my phone to like get it out to record him playing it. And I was like, oh my God, they've got a lot of instrumentals and like trash takes and stuff like that. It's all somewhere. It's all somewhere.
I'm not sure about the old tapes though. It would be cool to bring one of the tapes to the shows, and I think they would be stoked to see that I have like 4 demo tapes all together. And tell me something about these tapes, man.
Yeah.
That's what I should do sometime. Yeah.
I wonder if they have those tapes. I think Chino might have posted a photo of one of them not long ago, but
yeah, it could be. Yeah.
It makes you wonder. It certainly makes you wonder. Okay. Is there something that you think more people should know or consider when talking about Deftones?
Talking about Deftones. Oh, whoa. Oh man. I don't know, man. People, you mean people who don't know Deftones or Deftones fans? Or?
Well, I guess maybe however the question strikes you. I always sort of think about what they do and or their career, their catalog, and while the story always seems to be White Pony, the death of Chi, and new metal. You know what I mean? Like those are sort of the archetypes for a Deftones story. You know what I mean? But the story is so much broader and richer than that.
Yeah, I see it's totally different. I mean, the new metal thing, I don't get it all. I mean, I did get it in the 90s. I mean, they were locked into this wagon, this new metal wagon, and of course, but I think after White Pony, they did their own thing, and they're still being, being categorized in that, I don't get it. I mean,
it doesn't make sense. I feel like lately though, this past year has been a little bit different where, they started to get different tags, alt metal or art metal or whatever, but new metal still gets brought up. It still gets tossed in the mix for better or worse, right?
For me, it's just an alternative band, I don't, and it's a really broad term, of course, for music, but it's not, I don't even call them metal or, that's what I love about them, because I love all kinds of music and they have that too. I mean, especially that's what I love about Ohms too, all the synth sounds and stuff, and that's, they have all these kind of things. Of course, it's heavy, but it's, I mean, listen to the vocals. It's not really metal. It's not really, it's really nothing. It's just Deftones.
I totally agree. In fact, I think that Ohms is as much of a dance record as it is anything else. But to think of it think of them just as an alternative band it works.
Don't you just love the whole Ohms sound and thing? I mean, it's really one of my favorites from all the last albums. The way it dropped, and of course, in this time of age, it's really kind of a weird time now. But when I first heard it and everything about it, it's just I'm so in love with that record. I still am. The sound and the songs. It's such a great album. I think it's it's one of their better latest albums.
I think so too. I mean, I've gone so far as to say it might be my favorite, or it is my favorite album. And then, like I said, I'll listen to Around the Fur and be like, well, I don't know, I changed my mind. But with the catalog being what it is, I don't know anything about the Eagles, but I know they didn't put out White Pony, and I know they didn't put out Ohms, which is everybody's album of the year, and they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Do you
Yeah.
think is there going to be a moment when Deftones, I don't know,
Well,
break through as a, because they are respected and well known and accomplished, but they're, I mean, at Download, Biffy Clyro's
yeah.
headlining over them. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I know what you mean, but I mean, the Eagles and Pearl Jam and all those other bands, they have had great hit singles,
Yeah.
And luckily enough for me, I mean, Deftones never had a hit single, and maybe that's why I love them. I don't know, but they're just one of a kind, and they have their own thing. So maybe I don't see them there, and I don't need to see them there. Actually, I like the way they are. They are high on the bill in festivals, but when I talk to people who don't know the band, or just people ask, "What do you like?" Deftones. Never heard of them. That's what I always hear. Oh, Deftones, I don't know them. So I love their position. They're pretty big, but they're not well known, and I like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. It still feels like we're in an exclusive club in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. True. Yeah.
Well, the way that I like to wrap up every conversation is with a request for recommendations, and I've kept you almost 2 hours already. Sorry,
It's all right.
Really like talking to you.
We're talking about Deftones, so no worries.
So a request for 3 recommendations, and this can be for absolutely anything, music, art, whatever you want to put people onto.
I did prepare this actually, but let's see. Recently, well, just broad recommendations. Maybe, well, the band Hum. You know the band Hum?
Yeah.
Just the band Hum. Check them out.
Awesome.
HUM. Other recommendations. Oh man. Oh yeah, I really dig a band, The Start. It's an old band though. It's from the early zeros, but you should check them out. It's danceable, electronic pop, alternative music. The Start. And maybe let's see. What am I listening to? I don't know. I just keep it at 2, man. I don't know.
That works for me. The world's most beloved Deftones fan, Sly Masmeijer. Thank you, Sly, for hanging out and just generally being awesome. I sincerely hope we get to have a beer in person soon, preferably at a Deftones show. Or any public place, to be honest. Follow Deftones Archive on Instagram, Sly Artwork on Instagram, slyartwork.com for more Sly's portfolio. He's just a badass man. And that man sang Head Up on stage with Deftones. I don't even know where to go from there. I want to talk about some of the rest of the conversation. The Pink Pop 98 footage, which is extremely cool, so unique. I would love to spend some more time talking about Sly's experience at Deftones as the Chi Deftones and the Sergio Deftones. That is interesting to think about. But man, I just can't get past the thought of Sly singing Head Up with Deftones. That's unbelievable. My name is Woody. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Woodbruh, WOODBRUH. My guest next week is Mercy. She sings in a band called Fleshwater that if you haven't already, you absolutely have to hear. Thank you for listening to Deftones, and thank you for listening to Change in the House of Pods.